Good morning, everyone. I'm Carla. I'm the new social media manager. I'm super excited to be here. I just started out, so I'm very excited to be here live with Rick Peterson. Rick, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little about yourself before we start?
Yeah, I'm Rick Peterson. I'm head of market strategy here at Wacom, Bamboo line of products. And we're all about kind of building out these products that help people build out their ideas, make it, move it forward with others, but kind of do things different.
Yeah, which is why we're here. We want to talk a little more about the bamboo, and how it functions, how it works, and how it helps people in their daily life. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do that. So basically, bamboo spark. Let's take a step back before we step truly into it and get into the nitty gritty. But Bamboo Spark, for those of you that don't know, it's a smart notebook. Basically, a beautiful folio with internal, just kind of protects my sheets of paper, and I can get onto this with smart pen. Any paper can come in here, and I just jump in. I'm able to start building out ideas, letting it naturally happen with pen and paper. And the fact of the matter at that point, with a push of a button, then I can start to move that into digital, my smartphone, whether that's iOS or Android, my tablets. But then I can kind of flex with my notes in my digital world where I can share, I can edit, collaborate, different things of that nature.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Shall we just jump in? Let's just jump in.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna move the camera. Very casual. Have patience, my friends.
We're kind of getting into the nitty gritty, but the idea is just to share a little bit about what's possible with Bamboo Spark. So as I mentioned, just as a smart pen, simple pen that we utilize, straight ink. I just get in. I can use any paper. I happen to be using Rhodia paper here. It's one of my favorite papers. I could use. I could put a napkin on here if I wanted and just start writing.
So paper doesn't really matter.
It's any paper. I mean, I could use any sheet of paper. This happens to be 8.5 or A5 format, so a smaller format, but it gives me the ability to use the paper I want, jump in and go.
And what about quantity?
Quantity, typically we like to say, about 50 sheets of paper.
Okay.
Now I've loaded a full Rhodia in here, and I have no issue with what's happening in when I put the pen down and its conveyance into the digital side. But for those of you familiar with Wacom, basically think of it as I basically have an Intuos tablet or a smart EMR board sitting underneath here, and then paper over the top of that. As I'm writing with my smart pen, I basically am communicating with the board and it's picking that up. And then with a push of a button, I can move that into the digital form. And so with that, I did this draw up a little earlier. I go into the Bamboo app. I'll just go back, but basically I'm in the Bamboo app. Here it's translated. And now I'm basically getting stroke for stroke, the same thing that I wrote here, I'm picking up within the app itself.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the nice part as well is it's not just static. It's not just a flat image. I can come in and I can hit edit. I can draw on that. So a couple things can happen. I can zoom. If I come in here, I can zoom up. I can zoom down. I can add strokes if I want. I can erase. So I can come in here and take some stuff out if I'd like. So I really have the flexibility within the platform. But realistically, I didn't really want to do that. So let's go back to the original. So now I'm back in the original. The other piece of it is it's been recording, but what we call it is a split feature. So if I hit edit, I can come in here on split. This is a really cool feature. I use this a lot, but basically it's recorded from stroke 1 to 10,000 to 20,000, whatever. But the idea is I can move back in time with this switch here. That would go. And now I can move, and you can kind of see.
So you can save piece by piece, right?
Exactly. So basically here, let's say I didn't want all of this drawing. I just want to take that first piece and go right to there. Let's say, right? So now I can basically hit split right up here, boom. Now I've split that note apart. So if I go back to my library, I have the top portion of the note and the bottom. Now I can recombine that and seamlessly bring it back together later. But let's say here I want to go into this portion of the note. I want to push that out. Now I can export as an image, a PDF. Later we'll have a PNG file output as well as vector. But here, let's say I want to export as an image. I want to move that into, I could choose a couple different apps. I could push that into Instagram, OneNote. I could do it into Evernote. I'm going to choose to do Evernote here and just sync that up. So I'll just write Spark, and then I'll just push that, save. Now that's gone into my Evernote account, and I can pick that up. So super flexible in what's possible.
Yeah, and what I love about it is, you're not only digitalizing your handwritten notes, but you also have the chance to edit them and kind of, highlight the important notes, or just edit whatever you want to remember, you want to send, or you want to just send a part of it. So that's nice. And you mentioned some of the softwares that you could sync it to. Do we have any others that?
We do. Yeah, that's a good question, because in that space, like we talked about, there's Evernote. I can move it into Dropbox, OneNote. Again, I can move it into text or into other areas, Creative Cloud. So there's definitely multiple options, and that's what we wanted to do with this, is be really seamless in how people work, work their way. So you can work in our Inkspace cloud to get to your files on your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop, desktop through our web browser. But the fact of the matter is, you can work your way, or you can work in your existing cloud accounts. Like myself, I'm a huge Evernote user, and so for me, moving off that would be difficult. So it's really seamless in that regard. But the one other really nice feature, and I'll just kind of bring this up real quick, is I made a quick note. I made a quick note to my son, and oftentimes we do, like I happen to do, the first note was very sketch oriented, right, or sketch notey. Like if this was a note to my son, which it is, or if it was notes from a meeting, it really helps me move things in a faster form. So in this case, I'm able to move this out in ink to text, or we can convert it to handwriting, convert it to text. So basically here I'm now in the library. I can basically convert, export as text, and now it's thinking for a minute with our cloud services, and it's bringing in the text overlay. So now I can shoot this out through text, through email. I can be more refined. It's kind of shareable already if I didn't like my handwriting. In this case, I guess I'm probably yelling at my son. This note was about hey, good luck on your math test.
More like, you better do good on your test.
No. There's no you could. No, in this case, I should probably put in a little note here, or maybe a better bet is just to send it out as an image so he doesn't think I'm yelling at him. And it's really, hey, just go kick ass. So, can I say that? I guess. Anyway, the idea is, I can push it out like that. It's an image, right? So we have some fun with it, but you can be really flexible. And that's just one use case. But if you're thinking about notes and teams and how we work, oftentimes I'll come off a meeting, I'll move it in from handwriting to text and send out kind of action items coming off a meeting. I never have to retype anything, just seamless, quick, fast.
Yeah, and I like where you're going, because, you first show how you can actually use it to provide the ideas that you have, or maybe in your professional life every day. But this is a more personal way, right? It's not just sending out text. It's not just, sending out an email. This is more like you're sending a nice note to your son, handwritten. And that's something I kind of miss. My parents always tell me, they always write me handwritten notes or handwritten letters. And it's something that you want to keep, so it's.
And I think in certain cases, this is an important point, is too often we move so quickly into digital, and some of the best ideas or best thinking comes when you just pause for a moment, right?
Yeah.
And we hear that from customers, there's that moment of time where you just want to kind of get it down, get all the distraction out and focus. And pen to paper oftentimes helps with that, but it's that next move, and how do you manage that and seamlessly do it moving into your digital.
Exactly, and that's where my next question comes in, how do you see other people using the Spark?
We see a whole bunch of different uses, and I think one of the areas that we've seen a lot of use is students. For one, is interesting. For instance, Cornell note-taking, business professionals in taking notes in meetings, to action lists, to ideating, like mini whiteboarding, building ideas. I think the one thing that's nice, and we're talking just a moment ago about the idea of pausing or taking that moment. One thing that research has shown, coming out of UCLA, Dr. Oppenheimer, and some others out east, but the fact of the matter is that there's this knowledge that's there around note-taking, and the idea of, if you're mindlessly on a keyboard, well, you're kind of just verbatim taking notes. But if you're in that moment of handwriting and you're processing, you're already starting to learn differently, and there's some importance to that, right? And so kind of pulling through that whole effort helps you be better at what you do, and whether that's in business or being a student. So we see those use cases and opportunities, and how it's changing how people learn and work. But the other side is we see, architects, design, like we were saying, we've been to Adidas recently, where we saw the design team kind of playing with product, thinking about how it can work into their idea workflow. And for many of them, they're still using pen to paper. So that idea of being able to transition, but start with a really interesting, simple platform, and then move into the digital world, it's kind of a refined step.
Yeah.
And you as a photographer too, right? There's opportunities there.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever I'm planning out a shoot, for example, I love to create a mood board that I can then share either with the agency I'm working with, or the model, or even the makeup artist. And it comes to the point where I love to draw it out and sketch it out. But whenever I want to share it with them, I either have to transcript in Word, or, take a picture, go back, search for the picture, and then send it as an attachment. So this kind of saves me the process.
Right.
So yeah, this is the perfect tool for me as a photographer.
Yeah. So there's so many different realms where this could play out. I think that's a really interesting one because visualizing something is like 1,000 words, right? And for so much of it, if you write an email or you do a PowerPoint, it's so much easier if you just provide that visual. People can just kind of lock in and go with it. And so I think that's really what is unique here. I also use it in a way where we're talking about landscape architecture, what have you. I oftentimes will do just quick SketchUps. This happens to be of my backyard, next steps in planning. So again, coming back to how I use it in life, it works from personal side of communicating with family to how I plan for my weekend warrior afternoons or what have you, and getting hands in the dirt, to how we move business forward with the Bamboo line. So it really can go in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, and for landscaping, it's pretty cool with the split apps. So you can kind of see the process of how you want it laid out, right?
Yeah, sometimes I'll send this out to individual I work with that helps me with the patio style stuff and laying the concrete, but it's our way of communicating and just being seamless with it. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And today we're so absorbed by technology, and we're also always on the go. Entrepreneurs, everyone is like in a fast pace kind of. So it's such a good product to have on the go because ideas can just happen anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So this can serve for inspiration for everyone. I know we have big influencers that have been using our products. I know we have huge brands. I know one of the biggest, very recognized fashion designer like Carolina Herrera uses our product all the time. So I don't know if you could mention some of the brands or influencers we work with.
We do have quite a few influencers working with us and thought leaders in that space. And you mentioned a few. There's Amber Case, who's a technologist speaking to Calm Technologies. There's design folks out of London, New York. There's also the Adidas team here in the Greater Portland area that's starting to use it in their men's apparel lines. But it's interesting to see how that's evolving. The other side of it is we're working with some student influencers as well that are starting to share ways that they are learning differently. And one of the areas where you can learn more about what people are doing, and it's one thing for us to talk about it, but I think it's really interesting to hear it coming from the user and the customer, and that is on our blog at bamboo.wacom.com. There's some outstanding content out there, people showing how they're using our different products and how it's impacting their workflow or their lives. And there's some intriguing content from groups like Jacobs and Salt, to Be Local, and some others that are really doing some cool things in the maker kind of doer movement here in the Greater Portland area. But across the world, we're starting to change how people think about building ideas and how they move it from, use what you love, pen and paper, and move forward.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely increases your productivity every day as well. Like for myself, I always like to, whenever I get to the office, I always like to handwrite my to-do list for the day.
Right.
And kind of, check out whatever I have to do. So this also helps you kind of keep up, wherever you are, just keep your ideas, but also keep going. And, we've seen so many huge brands and influencers and how it's influencing them in their everyday and in a professional manner.
Right.
So I have to ask, how did you guys come up with this idea?
So it's a good question. It was quite a journey, to be honest. For us, in the consumer team, we really took a step back, which is we took a collective group, cross-functional team of design, product marketing, engineering, all of that into the consumer. And that's in talking to students, talking to engineering types, to designers, to working professionals in the business realm, and really understanding what is it that they're doing? How are they working? What tools are they using? What frustrations do they have? And I think through that process, it really helped identify a couple areas of opportunity that were just quite obvious. One that you'll see here is pen to paper.
Yeah.
In the digital world, pen to paper still matters. A lot of thinkers, a lot of people that are kind of building new ways of working and collaborating are starting in this space, and that this type of product helps them. The other side of it is that flexibility in digital, of the desire to collaborate, the desire to move it seamlessly across different cloud services. And so I think hearing that and understanding the mobile life that we lead, that started to lend itself towards what we wanted to accomplish with Spark. And the fact of the matter, and you spoke of this earlier, which is, God, you're writing something in handwriting, you're passing that on to somebody, you're snapping it with your camera, maybe you're running it down the hall and scanning it. Those multiple layers of how you move something from handwriting to digital, it was such a burden. We wanted to get rid of that. And now with, simple handwriting, pen to paper, a touch of a button, that's going digital. And you have all that flexibility with Bamboo Spark app itself.
Yeah, and you save that process. What you're saying is
Totally.
really important because, going back to what we were saying before, everyone is such in a fast pace today. We're always on the go, so we need something fast and quick.
Yep.
So this kind of saves you the process from going into your camera roll, finding the picture of the notes you took, or transcripting them in, Word or whatever. So it kind of saves you that time. So you're always on the go. You manage a global team, right? And I've seen, and something that was very interesting to me, I've been following your LinkedIn, and I've seen that you've been putting different marketing tips of how to, manage and increase your productivity every day for entrepreneurs and professionals. So I thought it'd be interesting if you could give out a tip in how do we juggle, from our personal life to, manage our family as well, like be there for them, and then, be at work. So what would you say for that?
Yeah, okay, so Rick Peterson's life hack.
Yes,
yeah, I don't know. No, but in this space, I think one of the things is that we're all busy, right? It doesn't matter what we do, but it's, for me, as I look at balancing work, life, family, I guess the one thing that's always kind of rung for me is be there. Be part of it, but be there with passion. And the idea that no matter where you are, you're in it. I mean, too often we can come home, and whether you have family or friends, you jump into it, like you have a moment, you jump into email and look at, really? What is that getting you? The idea, if you're home, you're home. Be part of it, right? If you're at work, be in it with that highest level of passion and driving and collaborating with teams. So in my mind, I think that's one thing that really helps, is being actively involved and participant, but and with that comes a higher level of clarity, maybe better productivity overall. And I hope, I'm not perfect at it. My wife would say I'm not, I know that. But the idea, we try and we move every day to get better in that space.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at it in a perspective from the product, I think there's also a way to manage that balance through it. Like you were showing, the first sketch that you were sharing with us was more in a professional manner, like how do you share your ideas, how do you collaborate in your workspace. Then the second one was a more, personal kind of a family note. And then the third one was, what do you like to do personally?
Right.
It's your own activities and your weekend planning. So, there's always a way of balancing and juggling that with the product as well, which makes it really cool.
Right. Totally agree. And I think that's the one thing that's nice about Bamboo Spark, is it kind of has different gears, different use cases, different gears. You take it where you want, and it flexes with you. And it's just a downright fun product, and that's why I think we have such passion for why we work within the Bamboo brand, but with such great products.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Rick, thank you so much. I've learned a lot about the product today. I bet you guys did too. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask, this is your chance. So shoot. We're going to give everyone a second. So here is a question from Julia. Where can I get the Bamboo Spark?
Where can I get the Bamboo Spark? Several locations around the world, but in the US, for instance, Amazon, Best Buy, also the Wacom e-store, so Apple for that matter. So a lot of flexibility in where you can get it here locally, but continue to look for it. And there's some, like we mentioned earlier, there's some great information as to different ways of people using it on the Bamboo blog. So check that out as well. See what entrepreneurs and designers and others are doing with Bamboo Spark.
Yeah, awesome. And I know there are some products. Is there anything that you could say of what's coming as well, so people are a bit aware of that?
Yeah, that question comes up all the time, and it's interesting because, again, this is an Internet of Things product. So the idea that, the hardware that you get, yes, it's there. It continues to kind of evolve because it's evolving through the app and what's happening on your smartphone, whether that be Android, iOS, or your tablets for that matter. But the fact is that when we started this process and this journey, we didn't launch this product with ink to text. That feature set came in about 3 months after launch. Moving handwriting to text mattered. Our customers were asking for it. That was added in the ecosystem. So we continue to add. Next, probably looking at how do we build out in vector and allow people to move their workflow and be even more efficient with that. There's other things to come, so be on the lookout. Within the Bamboo Spark app and ink space, we will have this kind of brought in. And it's an Internet of Things, so it evolves with you. it grows.
Yeah.
And as you grow and build your ideas.
Yeah, and we're listening to you guys. We're listening to what you have to say, to what you're expecting from the product. So, be tuned for what's coming. Do we have any more questions? There is one here. I am a student. Can I use a Bamboo Spark with a group?
With a group, good question. So with a group, you can only connect with one smart device at a time. But we have had multiple Sparks going in classrooms or in design sessions where we've had up to, 12 to 20 moving at any one time. So yeah, students in that sort of environment can pass back and forth. The other thing that they can do is share within app files. So if they move that into what's called a WILL file, W-I-L-L, which is Wacom Ink layer language, that allows them to share and interact directly. So you could pick up that file and bring it in and then start to edit. So there could be some collaboration going on in that space.
That's pretty cool. It's not only about digitalizing your handwritten notes, it's also about collaborating and sharing and editing and working it together. Any more questions? We're going to take a couple of more questions from our audience.
Let's do it.
So we're going to wait and see if there are any other questions. Here's one. Can I try out a Bamboo Spark?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Can you try it out like at local retail? Yeah, unfortunately, in most cases, retailers don't have it out of box. So that's a little tough. I think you can get a real feel for it on the Bamboo blog. This is where we've done a really nice job with relation to some content build out. You can see different styles of use case from an entrepreneur like John Gannon at BMaven, where he's using it in his ideation process. And you can see kind of how he's working through it. You can see what's happening. You can see a designer like NRC out of London doing some really cool things in how she builds her design lines and fashion. To others like Jacobs and Salt and how they're kind of pushing ideas around within the team. So I would actually start there as an interesting option at bamboo.wacom.com. You can see some interesting use cases and what people are doing. And then through that, probably get a pretty darn good feel for what it's like.
Yeah.
If you happen to be outside the US, there are some places, Yodobashi in Japan, Saturn in Europe are some areas where you can trial it. But in the US, for instance, really retailers haven't pulled it out of box.
Yeah, and we also have our YouTube channel where you guys can see some other tutorials of how it works. And for all of our audience that lives here in Portland, we're soon going to open up the Experience Center, which you will have a chance to come in, join, and kind of try out the Bamboo Spark. So be tuned for that in July. We don't have a specific date for open, but we'll announce you guys soon. And let's go to one more question. Is it difficult to set up?
Yeah, it's not. Realistically, in that space, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the beauty is when you jump into Bamboo Spark and you download the app on your smartphone, the app is actually directing you through every single step of setup and in a really just easy to follow fashion. I think it's about 4 steps to get up and running and pair your device, and then you're basically off and going. And at that point, you're into, within 2 minutes, you're into note taking and ideation and development. So it's not hard at all.
Yeah. Hey guys, well, thank you so much, Rick, for joining us today and going behind the scenes with the product. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot. I bet everyone did too. Thank you all for joining us today and coming up with all these awesome questions. You'll have this video on our YouTube channel, so if you want to go back and see how the product works, make sure to tune in. And hold on, I think there's one more question before we leave.
Sure.
We leave. So hey guys, I was able to work with the CES booth last year with Wacom when this was featured. My question is, how long can you draw till it will stop recording, say if you have an elaborated sketch?
Oh, hell, okay. First off, battery life is roughly about 5 hours, so you have ample time. Ample time. And any one drawing, there's really no there's no span to an individual drawing. It's basically you draw on a certain page, when you push the button, then it's saved that and moved it into the digital form. So really it's as many strokes or as long as you want on that, just knowing you're within the battery life. The other side of it too, just to keep in mind, is you don't always have to be connected to your device. You can store locally here. So if I'm on this, I can store up to 100 pages here. and then move that across digital later. Like for instance, I might go 2 days with taking notes in meetings and then sit down with my phone and sync it across after that point. So it's super versatile in that way. You don't have to feel like you're tied to your device at any one time.
Yeah. Well, I hope that answers your question. Thank you for joining us at CES. Hope to see you next year there.
Yeah.
And thank you guys. Well, this is it for us. We'll be back soon. Thank you so much, Rick.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye. Happy Friday, everyone.